Creating a click-worthy thumbnail for YouTube is one of the most important parts of a YouTube video, because if your thumbnail isn't interesting, it doesn't make people stop and look at it, and it doesn't make people click, you're not going to get very many views on your YouTube videos, and your channel isn't going to do very well. So for today's video, I want to talk about tips to creating better thumbnails, how to make your text pop out more, and I want to look at some of my top videos of all time and of in the last month to show you guys what I do with my thumbnail process and how I come up with thumbnails and create clickable thumbnails for my YouTube videos. And one of the first things that I want to do is look at the stats for the lifetime of my channel and just show you guys the top content of my channel as a whole. So this video right here was recently posted in December of 2022, and it has garnered me 18,000 views. So random stats for this video, if you'd like to see them: 18,000 views, 508 subscribers, and this video's made me $130, which is really exciting. But the main thing, obviously, is the thumbnail. So this is a 5.6% impressions and click-through rate, which basically just means the percentage of people that saw the thumbnail and the video in their feed and decided to click on it. So this video has gotten 234,000 impressions on it, and overall 5.6% of them decided to click on it, which gives me 18,000 views since it has been published. And I also want to take a look at this video because this was my top video of all time up until probably like a month or two ago. So this one has 17,000 views and it only made me $16. But the reason for that is I got monetized in December of 2022, right around the time that this video was published. So every single view on this video is monetized, which is why this one has made me $130. This video was launched way before I was monetized, when most of the views came through, and I was monetized probably around here when it started to taper off a little bit, but still done an amazing job. And the click-through rate for this video is 5.9% with 210,000 impressions. So this one's got more, but the click-through rate is less, and this one is less, but the click-through rate is more, leading to roughly the same amount of views. Some of the things that you want to think about when you are creating your thumbnails, what my thought process is I think about what is happening in the video. What are people expecting to get out of the video? Because one of the most important things with your thumbnail is not over exaggerating a topic that isn't that exciting. At least for me, because I want to meet the expectation of the viewer. So if I'm talking about something that isn't super exciting, I don't need to have the overly exaggerated YouTube face with the big eyes and the big smile. Like, sometimes it works, so people do it because you want to draw people in and, you want to show emotion in your thumbnails. But if I'm not talking about something that is the most exciting video topic in the entire world, you don't need that. So I think about, what is my title going to be? And then what emotion can I show in the thumbnail that is going to be conveyed throughout the video so that when people click on it, it is actually what they expect it to be. Because if you have this fantastic thumbnail with explosions in the thumbnail and like Justin Bieber for some reason on your thumbnail, a lot of people might click on it, but it's called clickbait if what they expect is not what they get. If you're talking about the 7 ways to pay off debt, and for some bizarre reason, Justin Bieber and Vin Diesel are in your thumbnail and there's a car exploding in the background, people might click on it because that sounds like a sick video, but it's not actually what they expect. And it's great to get a bunch of clicks on your video, but if your watch time sucks because people immediately click off, then having a bunch of clicks to your video doesn't actually matter. So, like, for example, I have a 5.9% click-through rate, and I have a 4-minute and 24-second average view duration, which means that's on average how long people watch this video for, and you can see that it is 1 minute and 32 seconds more than usual. This number is infinitely more important to me than any other number, because if people are staying longer on my videos, that means that the content that they were served up and what they were expecting met those expectations. And so you want to make sure your thumbnail and your title doesn't overly exaggerate what they're going to be getting. Because if you have 100,000 views, that's great. But if people watched for 2 seconds and then clicked off, it doesn't actually matter. So that's just something you want to pay attention to when you are thinking of thumbnails. And so like this one, I'm smiling. That's it. It's talking about blow up your Pinterest account. That's kind of exciting. 1.4 million impressions is on the thumbnail because that is what the impressions I was getting at the time. And obviously people want more impressions on their Pinterest and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons I have that, and then blow up, because that is the thing that I want people to know that they can do. And then the Pinterest logo in the background. I will actually go through and break down my thumbnails and show you in Canva how I do things, but I just kind of want to give like a brief overview at first. And then for this thumbnail here, I have WordPress because it is Want to Start a Blog in 2023, the step-by-step guide for absolute beginners. And the other thing with thumbnails is you want them to tie nicely into your title, because people are likely going to see your thumbnail first. And if it catches their eye, then they might start to read the title of your video, which is hopefully going to give them more information about what they are going to get in the video. So I like to have the main point, or the main thing that I want people to know, whatever is going to draw people's attention in, I want that on the thumbnail, and then I want the title to explain more in plain terms what is going to be in the video. And this is good for me if you have like a how-to channel. You can like title your stuff this way. Some, other niches are going to have to title their stuff differently, but I like to just plain and simple terms, but also in an exciting way, tell people exactly what they're going to get, who this video is for. I mean, this video is exactly who this is for. Do you want to start a blog in 2023? If the answer is yes, you're going to want to click on this video. If you want a step-by-step guide, you're going to want to click on this video. And if you are an absolute beginner, this is who this video is for. It is abundantly clear who it is for, and it has apparently worked for 18,000 people. So clearly this title and thumbnail combination has worked properly. But also, I knew that I wanted it to be abundantly clear that this was a step-by-step guide for absolute beginners. But if you see the videos in the home feed, like let's, for example, go to my page right now. On my channel right here, it says, Want to Start a Blog in 2023, the step-by-step guide for absolute beginners. Now, sometimes if the title is too long, it will get cut off. Like for absolute got cut off. Absolute beginners was cut off. And then here, my second video, Pinterest marketing for beginners. That's fine that got cut off because that's not as important. But I also try to put the most important thing, the thing that is going to catch people's eye and explain the video the best, I put that as close to the front as possible, because if it gets cut off, then people aren't going to be able to see it unless they hover over it, and then they can see the full title. Or if it doesn't capture attention immediately, people might just not read till the end of the title to see the step-by-step guide for absolute beginners, because this is about as quickly as you can grab someone's attention. Because when you're on the homepage, when you're looking on the side, browsing for a video, my videos are not the only ones that are going to be showing up, and neither are yours. So you need to grab attention as quickly as possible. The reason I say that is because I knew I wanted absolute beginners to understand immediately that this video was for them. And absolute beginners was in bold to help make them see as more visible, but it was at the end and I knew it was going to get cut off. So I decided to put absolute beginners on the thumbnail, as bold as I could, because then you can look at this and say, start here, absolute beginners, WordPress logo, looking at a computer. From there, you can kind of assume who this video is for at a glance. And then you read the thumbnail, Want to Start a Blog in 2023, you put 2 and 2 together. If that is you, then this is the video you want to watch. And another reason why I placed the text where I did was because if I had put absolute beginners down at the bottom here, beginners would be cut off because of that 2022 timestamp, or 22-minute timestamp. Beginners, the end of the word, from the second N on would be cut off. So it would be a little bit harder to read. So I put it up a little bit, and I also didn't want to cover my finger pointing, so I put it just right under my chin, so that it's front and center, bold. You can absolutely read it, and you can actually read all of the words. And then I also wanted them to know that they should start here at this video. This is exactly what you need to do. So I wrote start here in a different text, and then I put the WordPress logo, so it was abundantly clear what you are getting as quickly as possible. And as we can see, this video did exactly what it was intended to do. It worked very well. So I also want to take a look at some of the thumbnails in terms of September. So of course, my top video for September was this one right here, but I want to look at a couple of these other thumbnails. So this one, I wanted to talk about how you can make mistakes when you do affiliate marketing. Got 15,000 views and 6.4% click-through rate, which is even better than the click-through rate of the other ones. And the reason that this one has only gotten 15,000 views so far is likely because the target audience is smaller, but it reached the intended target audience that it was supposed to reach and resonated with them enough that they would click on it. Because starting a blog, that is a bigger audience, but making mistakes with affiliate marketing is a smaller audience, especially because I'm talking about inserting Amazon affiliate links into WordPress, smaller audience, which means kind of less views. Not really that much less, but less views. However, it reached the intended audience that it was supposed to reach and resonated with them well enough to get a 6.4% click-through rate. So that's kind of why that happens sometimes. But in terms of the thumbnail, I put the most important part of the video in the front of the title because the title and the thumbnail, they work together. Deadly mistakes bloggers make with affiliate links, insert Amazon links into WordPress. That was the whole point of the video. So my thinking for this video was, I know the most popular affiliate program typically is going to be Amazon. And so that is what's going to attract people to this video is Amazon. And so I have, since it's deadly mistakes bloggers can make, I'm having a picture where I'm kind of like not even looking at the camera, just like, oh gosh, I got banned off of YouTube or off of Amazon. And that is the vibe that I want people to feel or the emotion that is going to be part of this video. And then put huge mistake, banned, computer, Amazon logo. I probably could have made that stuff bigger and me smaller because the Amazon logo is the most important part of this. I am not really the main focus of this video, so I definitely could have done this better. However, this video is still doing great, so it doesn't really matter. And I didn't really want a fancy background because that wasn't the main part of the video, so I literally just have a brick wall, which is a random photo that I found off of Canva, and I'll show you, like I said, I'll break down my thumbnails and how I do them in Canva and show you how I find my background pictures and all the things like that. So those are some of the things that you can do. I also really like this thumbnail here, and there's a lot less words on this. This is a little bit more of a different thumbnail for me, but I'm really happy that it worked out. So boost Pinterest traffic in 4 easy steps. This is a smaller audience again, so it only has 4.5K views, and the reach on this one is 10.2%. However, because it is a smaller audience, it only has 34,000 impressions. That has not hurt the video though, because the click-through rate is 10.2%, which is huge. 5% is kind of like the average, and it has 4.5K views. But I mean, of course, this isn't the end of the video. This isn't the only time this video is going to get views. It is still taking off, so that is always going to be consistently growing. And this thumbnail, I'm really proud of this thumbnail. I'm really happy with it. And clearly the 10.2% click-through rate, which by the way, I did not look at these stats before, so I didn't know it was 10.2%. This video is about how to boost Pinterest traffic in 4 easy steps. Pinterest for beginners. I always like to have / and then like something else on the end, which is usually a keyword or something like Pinterest for beginners, how to start a blog for beginners, something like that as a keyword in my title. You don't have to. I usually just make my titles longer than they need to be. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But boost Pinterest traffic is the main part of the title, so I made sure to bold that. And I knew that I wanted to talk about how you can get viral on Pinterest. So I'm pointing at the words, which is something I do often, pointing at the main part of the thumbnail, looking surprised because this video is about going viral. So you're excited to go viral. That is the emotion that I want to evict out of this thumbnail. This is the emotion that I want people to have or know that they're going to feel once this virality happens. And so I have viral faster, big bold letters with red in the background because that is going to make it pop. Red is a very, very bright color. It makes words pop, and clearly that has worked. Again, I probably could have made myself smaller and made everything else in the thumbnail bigger. Doesn't really matter. 10.2% click-through rate. I am not crying over that click-through rate. That is amazing. And then, of course, I also want to put results because this is the results that I'm getting on my Pinterest account. So I decided to put the impressions and the engagements because we are talking about going viral. And impressions and engagements, that is the views, that is going viral. Of course, there is a ton of different stats that I could have put here on Pinterest. I just picked the 2 biggest numbers or the ones that I thought mattered the most for this video. So those are my stats and people can see them. And then if they want those stats, they will want to click on this video. So sometimes I will put what is actually going on in the title. So like absolute beginners, those words are in the thumbnail and in the title. Other times I have blow up in the title, in the thumbnail. You don't always have to do that because the thumbnail and the title work together. There is nowhere on here in the title that says viral faster, but I put it on the thumbnail because they are working together in this scenario, and you don't have to just put how to boost Pinterest traffic in 4 easy steps. That doesn't need to be on your thumbnail. It's in your title. You don't necessarily need to reiterate the entire thing. Sometimes you can reiterate words, but in this case, I decided to just scrap the entire title for the thumbnail and put viral faster because that is the most important part that I want people to know. However, you also don't always need words on your title. So these two thumbnails right here don't have any words on them. I mean, this one has numbers, but it doesn't actually have words, and they're still my best videos. These actually are in this section as well. This is my lifetime. This video is in here as my top, and this video is in here as my top of all time. So these have just done really well, even without words. And this is really the one that I want to talk about the most, even though it isn't the biggest one. This one is actually bigger, but for this month, this one was bigger. And this one has 4.4K views, and the click-through rate is 7.8% with 40,000 impressions. This one, again, smaller topic. Make your WordPress website lightning fast and mobile friendly. Not everybody wants to make their WordPress website fast and mobile friendly. It is not something that a lot of people are searching for. I mean, people are searching for it, obviously 4.4K views, but it's not a super viral, super massive topic like how to make $10,000 in a single month or something like that. However, 7.8% click-through rate, this thumbnail is crushing it. And I made sure to put WordPress website. I wanted to specify that it was WordPress in the title and also put some power words in there. Lightning fast, not just fast, not just faster, lightning fast as you can possibly have something, and also mobile friendly. Because this is a lot of the things that I was struggling with for a while, was my website being slow and it not being mobile friendly. So a lot of other people probably struggled with the same thing, and 4,000 people did. This is a type of thumbnail that I like to make and a lot of other YouTubers like to make, where it's a split one. One is the before, where you're kind of like confused, upset, frustrated because something isn't working, and you're at 0. So I have 0 and I have the needle all the way over to the red to 100, where you're happy. This is your new emotion. This is the before emotion. This is the after emotion. Now you're at green and you're at 100, which is your site speed. And if you are involved in this and this is your problem, you're going to understand, and that means your site is slow and now it is fast. And to make it abundantly clear what I was talking about, I put the WordPress logo on there as well. So this is a good before and after to show people here is where you are, here is where you want to get. I can help you get there with this video. So sometimes you don't even need words on your thumbnail. And then this one right here, bulking Pinterest pins and uploading quickly. It's just me with the computer, with Canva on the computer. And if you've been on Canva, you'll know that that is Canva. So it's abundantly clear what software we're going to be using to bulk create Pinterest pins. I have Pinterest on there, and I have the Canva logo on there as well. So it's extremely clear what's going to be happening. So all of these videos have slightly different variations of different thumbnails, and they're all working. And quickly, if you want to see the stats on this one, 8.4K views, and this one has an 11.1% click-through rate. No words, other than if you count Canva as a word. No words on this thumbnail, 11.1% click-through rate. Absolutely bonkers. 8.4% views, or 8.4K views. So, as you can see, there's quite a few different strategies that you can use for this, but they all work and they all get slightly varied results. So now I want to break down some of my thumbnails and show you the different layers that go into actually creating these. I have 2 different folders or designs in Canva, and it's going through all of them right now. I have 104 thumbnails from 2022, and then I have 2023 thumbnails as well. So I basically just create different designs for different thumbnails so that I can have all of my thumbnails in one place and see what I did for the year. Now I want to start with this thumbnail here. because it was one of the best. Now, Canva actually updated their editing software a little bit. So this is kind of broken because it was used in the old editing software, whereas this white line isn't blurred anymore. And there was a little bit of a blur back there because the way that you get that white outline and that blur, it's a little bit different now than it used to be, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thumbnail. So I want to take you through the different layers that I use in order to get the thumbnail to look like this, starting from the background. So I have multiple different layers here, and I should, if I go to the positions, be able to show you all of the different layers. The first one is me smiling with the computer. And then I have a second layer. It's basically just me, but twice, so that I can edit a little bit better, and I can edit this photo differently than I edit this photo because the background, I tend to keep those two things separate. So we have the background, and then we have the two white outlines here, which used to be blurred. They're no longer because of, this thumbnail is old. And then I have me. I also have this, which used to be blurred as well. It's just a black dot around it. But again, it's not blurred anymore. And then I have the WordPress logo, which doesn't have any white behind it, so I just put a white circle behind it so that you could see it. Absolute beginners again, start here and start here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different layers. When I have start from scratch, the first thing I think about is what do I want the background to be? And I usually just used to use my old office. So actually over here, I have different pictures of my office because sometimes what I would do was I would just take a picture, but I didn't really know what I wanted the background to be. So I would take the same exact background and I would blur it so you couldn't tell it was the same background. And then I would take myself and just take out the background of my own picture and use that instead. So for example, let's say I want to use this one, I would copy it, and then I'm going to go here and to my thumbnail photos where I have a ton of different thumbnail photos. I take a bunch of them all at once and then use them over and over and over again. So let's just say I want to use this one. I'll click on this one, use it in a design. It's going to open its own design, but I'm just going to hit cut, and I'm going to hit paste. And I think that this background is great for videos. I don't think it's that great for thumbnail photos because all of my thumbnails would be green. I don't think that's going to be great for thumbnail photos. I prefer to have my backgrounds to be more white. So I'm going to go to edit photo and background remover. With this, unfortunately, because of the way the light bounces off of these, it takes this and thinks it's part of the foreground when it is not, but you can just edit this part out. But with a little bit of movie magic, a lot of patience, and barely any breathing so you don't accidentally cut off your finger, which there is a restore button too. So if you do accidentally cut something off that, if you cut something off that you don't want or that you wanted, you could just hit the restore. But try to be as precise as possible as you can. Get rid of all that, and there we go. A lot of times too, I'll get rid of random stray hairs just because when I do the white outline, it'll look weird, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we get to it. It does look a little weird because now I have hair on my shoulder like that seems to come out of nowhere, but if you're looking that closely at my thumbnails, what are you doing with your life? Truly. I'm not even looking that closely at my thumbnails, so no one's ever going to see your thumbnail full view. No one's going to notice. So, and then I sometimes like to get rid of the flyaways because my hair, for whatever reason, is just a frizzy mess 100% of my life. So that should be good. That's my thumbnail edited. I'm going to go back. It will save it. Sometimes it's glitchy and you have to go back into the background remover. Hopefully that doesn't happen this time because this thing can get glitchy sometimes and kind of frustrating, but we'll work with it. And so now, hopefully, let me actually see, because sometimes when you put it back into a grid, it will put the background back exactly as it just did. Canva is sometimes a pain in my rear end to use, but it is what it is. 1 second. Let me fix what I just did. Now we have me and a totally different background. Now, because I'm no longer in this office, and also because I'm also holding my computer and there is one in the background, I personally wouldn't use this background. And I haven't been because I'm no longer in that apartment. I'm not in that office anymore. And also while I was in that office, I got kind of tired of using it. So what I do is I type in office background or light office or dark office or some type of something like that. And I will find a photo that I want to use in the background of my thumbnails. And then I will blur it so that you can't really tell, because this thumbnail right here, if I go to position, I can show you, pull this to the front. That's not my office. I've never been to this place before. This is a random photo that I found off of Canva, but that's not the main point of the thumbnail. No one is really paying attention to the background when it's blurred and it's not really that interesting. You're focused on the rest of it. So if you don't really have a good office space or you don't know what you want to use as your background, you can just use Canva photos. So if you want to use a background remover, unfortunately, you have to pay for Canva. There's not much you can do about that unless you can find a free background removal tool. They do have them out there. I personally would just rather pay for Canva because you get all the free photos or all the paid photos and stuff. But if you don't want to pay for Canva, I mean, you don't necessarily have to. So let me throw this in the back. I'm just going to use this picture right here because it's not, it doesn't really matter. This is just a mock-up thumbnail. But try to find something that makes sense. So like I personally like to have my thumbnails blurred. So if they're super blurry already, like I really don't want to use that one because I want to have more control over the blur. This would be a fine background. I'm just picky about mine and I would rather have the control over what the blur is. But if, like, for example, this one, I'm clearly not there. Like that is super obvious that I'm not there. You could do this and like make it a little bit bigger and maybe that would work because then the plant is really big. I don't know. Like you have to be careful to make sure that it actually looks believable that you're there. And sometimes I just do light background and you can use these too. This can be your thumbnail if you want. So I always figure out what thumbnail photo am I going to use of myself, and you don't have to be in the thumbnail. I am always in my thumbnails. You don't have to be. And then what is my background going to be? But grab this one and then I can go to edit photo. It's already blurred because I just copied and pasted it, but just put on the intensity. If you want it like super blurred, you can. I like to be able to still see what's going on, but also make it not the most important part. And then I will take myself and I'm going to put myself over on this corner. I like to figure out, okay, what side of the thumbnail am I going to be on? Obviously, for this, I'm going to be on this side of the thumbnail because I'm doing this. So I can't, if I put myself over here, of course, that's not going to make any sense. And also, I'm the most important part of the thumbnail, or one of the most important parts, and the computer is not. So I can have it like half off and it's not going to ruin the image. And I also like to make myself as big as possible. If you are teeny tiny in the corner, that obviously looks ridiculous. No one's gonna, I mean, maybe you put yourself that small, I don't know. But I like to put myself just about to the top of the thumbnail. I personally don't really like cutting off my head. Sometimes I will, but for the most part, I'll put my head just under the frame and do something like that. And then I will probably put words up here because my hand is like this. So I'll put some words up here. So let's just say I'm gonna be putting perfect pinning strategy here. I can show you guys how I typically do my text. Now, same thing for this one. I'm pointing this way, so the text is up here, and then I have a little bit of extra thing here, and then this space just to fill it in. I put this here because then you understand that that's Pinterest. I don't like to have a ton going on in my thumbnails because if you have way too many words, people aren't going to be able to read them because they're going to be really, really small. So if you have your entire bullet point list on your thumbnail, no one is going to read it. And I have seen those thumbnails where people basically put their bullet point outline in their thumbnail. No one can read that. They are going to be this small on the phone if people are watching on their phone, or this small on their computer. So if you can't read it, then it's too much. I usually like to put 4 to 5 words max at the most. But like I said, as you saw, you don't need to have words on your thumbnail. I think 3 is kind of where I like to stay. But when I'm doing text, I know that I'm already going to be using a similar text to this. So I will copy from my old thumbnail and paste it here. And then I will break it apart so you can see what's going on. I have 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer. Sometimes I have different types of layers, but this is what I have for this one. Let's go through them one by one. First layer. Now this one I did something a little bit different where the perfect is a bigger text than the pinning strategy because I wanted perfect to be the main part of it. So I did that. You can, if you want, make your text 2 different sizes. Sometimes I like this one. Most times they're all the same size. Doesn't really matter. I just decided to test it out with this one. And I have an effect on this one in order to help make my text pop. So I have thickness, which is an outline. And you can make your text whatever color you want. I would refrain from using colors that are hard on the eyes or are going to be difficult to read. Because when you are picking out your text, it's important to make sure it is something easy to read. So I used to use text that wasn't very easy to read. This is still a debate to me whether this text is easy to read or not, but sometimes I was using that. Like this right here, debatable that that's readable. This isn't even a video that's up anymore. I decided to get rid of it, but that text, debatable that that's readable or not. And sometimes I use other colors on my text, or like I was using yellow for a while there, and I may go back to that at some point. But for me, the white is what I typically use. And you can do different fonts like this one if you want, but just make sure it is readable. And then I do the effects. So I have outline, I've decided the thickness, and then I knew that I wanted my text to pop a little bit more because that wasn't enough. So I have 2 different types of shadow and lift on here. So one of my shadows, I have effect, shadow, and then I've offset it and blurred it the way that I want. That's obviously not enough, so I have a second one here. I basically have put the effect where the shadow is. Let me actually make this a different color so you can see. If I do like red, I turn up the blur a little bit because it starts out like this. So I turn up the blur a little bit. I turn up the transparency so that you can actually see it. And then I change the direction of it. So you can see it can go all the way around. I put the direction over here. And then you can also change the amount that it is offset. I like to have it just barely offset. And then I want the other side to be lifted as well. So I copy and paste, and then I put the direction on the other side. So I'll make that one blue so you can see it. The direction is the opposite way so that the whole word is lit up, and then the transparency, the blur, and the offset are similar. And then I also wanted a little bit of black in there though. So I put this lift shadow, and if I get rid of it, you can see the difference that it makes in making the words pop a little bit more. And lift, all you can do is make it black, which is why I have the shadow so that I can make it whatever color I want. And then lift, pull the intensity up, makes the words pop off the page a little bit more. I change up my strategy a little bit based off of whatever background I choose. So for this background, since it's so white, I might choose a different color for my effect for the shadow, just because white I feel like might not be the best option for being able to see it. So I would probably choose black for this one because now you can really see that text pop off the page. I don't like to have just this type of text. So if I delete this, I don't like to just have text like this. It doesn't pop off the page as much. It's not as easy to see versus something like this. Another thing that you can do if you want to put yourself on there, I don't do this as much anymore just because I have changed the way that I've done thumbnails over the years a little bit. But if you want to get that white outline around yourself, create a copy of yourself and then go over here to effects and duotone and custom. Now you can make this any color you want. I typically do white, but I think for this thumbnail, I might do black. We'll see how that works. Just because the thumbnail has already got a lot of white in it. I'm gonna do it black, but if you can go up here to white if you want. Make both of them black, highlights and shadow. And then you want to go to blur and turn up the intensity. And now I'm going to take the transparency, turn it down so I can see, and I'm going to place that wherever I want it to go, just outside of myself. And then I'm going to position this behind this photo right here. So you can see that it's there. Turn the transparency of this layer back up. And you can see now I have that black outline. I'm still not a fan of the black, so let me do it with white because I'm not a big fan of it. So we're gonna go create a copy, duotone, custom, drag both of these up here to white, and then blur, turn up the intensity, turn down the transparency just for a moment so we can see what it is we're working with here, turn the transparency back up, position, and pull that behind. Now you can see I have a white outline, and then if you want, you can still adjust it a little bit. And then I like to actually create a duplicate of it and put one on the other side as well. Put the transparency back up and drag it below there. And now I am fully white outline and glowed. And like I said, you can do different colors if you want because they have the little drag bar where you can drag it wherever you want. I think white looks the best, and you can make it a little bit more pronounced if you want, but this is a good way to make yourself stand out a little bit more. You can also take one and like make it bigger so that it fits both sides, but I tend to feel that that looks a little bit wonky. So if I were to go into position, pull this back up to the front, you can just make yourself bigger and play around with it that way to put it around yourself, but that tends to seem to be a little weird to me. I like to do the double just so that I can position both of them, because then the head looks kind of weird in my opinion, where it's like, it looks like that as opposed to the double. But I mean, you can do whatever works for you. And then this thumbnail to me, I'm going to put it back to what it was. There we go. Because see now the head, I don't know if you can tell, I can tell the head looks a little bit better. And then for me, I would put something else on here. And so since this is perfect Pinterest strategy, I had 1 million impressions. So we'll just reuse this one. I would put this, something like this here that fits good. And it's just a big picture of the stats dragged and blown up so that it just says the impressions on there. And then for this thumbnail, I also took a white box to get rid of the little eye. And I just put that over that. I don't know what it was. I just thought it looked a bit weird, so I got rid of it. And I also like to put a little black outline around the impressions as well. And the only way that I have found that you can do this to get it to blur is by saving a picture and putting the picture in there itself. So what I would do would copy this, paste it there so that it's in the exact same position. I would go up here and I would make it black. And then I would share, download, all pages, current page, transparent background, save it to your computer. I should have already had this saved because I've already done this thumbnail. Yeah, right here. So I would save it and then I would move that picture with just the black square back into Canva. And basically you just need to do element, have a text box. I bring it to the front, which by the way, if you use Control and the brackets, Control and the bracket facing this way will move it up, and Control and the bracket facing this way will move it back over the layers. Quick tip if you want to use that. And it's going to now be in that same place there. And then go to Edit Photo, Blur, allow it to be blurred a little bit. I will put it back and then blur it. If I move it all the way back, that's what it would look like. But if I move it up, you can see it gives it just a little bit of pop. And then I like to have this little Pinterest logo that I've created. So if I break what this logo is down, let me just put this into here. It's basically just a Pinterest image. And it is, I can actually, let me turn this into something else so you can see what I have going on here. I have a white burst and a black burst, just slightly tilted like that. So there's like two of them. And then I just put the Pinterest logo in front of it like that. So I literally just copy and paste this from my old thumbnail and put that in there. So for example, this one, I would put right back here probably. I put myself too big in order for this to fit here, but like on this one, it worked really well. And I can just do that. So now the Pinterest logo is still there, but it's not in front of my face. If you also, another quick tip, if you want to get to layers behind you as well, you can click on one thing, hold down Control, click again, and it will take you to the next layer. Click again with Control still held down, and it will take you to the layer behind. Or you can just use the position, which I'm so glad they added this because trying to find the different layers was so frustrating. So now you can just click and drag. But, you know, if you want to, I also use that where I just hit Control and then I go to the next layer, Control, next layer, Control, next layer. And then if I want to go to the next layers over here, I hit Control here, and you can go through all the layers that way. And there is a thumbnail, start to finish, exactly what I would do. This is a great thumbnail. I would post this thumbnail if I hadn't already pretty much done this thumbnail. But I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, and also if you want me to do another video on this, but you want me to take thumbnail submissions from viewers and like redo your thumbnails, I had somebody suggest that I take thumbnails from viewers, redo them, critique them a little bit, and kind of show off how I would do thumbnails from other creators. Let me know. I'd like to try that out and see how I can like help other creators with their specific thumbnails. So if you want me to check out your channel and redo a few of your thumbnails for you and then upload it for a video with a little bit of critique, comment down below and I will pick out a couple people or as many people as I can do in a video and kind of redo thumbnails and stuff, because I think that would be really, really fun. But like this video if you like, subscribe to my channel down below for more videos just like this, and I will see you next time. Bye.